evening and welcome to this edition of the Evening News for today, Monday, July 5, 2021. I'm Jemima Holmes. Thank you for joining us. Now let's take a look at some of the lead stories tonight. Caricom important in preserving, maintaining Guyana's territorial integrity, says President Ali. Agro-processing plant packaging facility for Berbice. Hess Mulls US $1 billion investment in Stabroek block in 2022. Harassing murder, police rejects GHRA's claim on arrest of alibi witnesses, and children hospitalized from COVID-19 had comorbidities, says Health Ministry. Now for the news in detail. As the Caribbean community celebrates its 48th anniversary today, President Dr. Irfan Ali has lauded the 15-member body for its critical and unwavering support for Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity in relation to the ongoing border controversy case with Venezuela. Here are the details.
In his message on the occasion of Caricom Day 2021, President Dr. Irfan Ali expressed that the community is an important bulwark in the preservation and maintenance of Guyana's sovereignty and territorial integrity. We are indebted to Caricom for its unstinting support in this regard. Venezuela has laid claim to more than two-thirds of Guyana's landmass in the Essequibo region and a portion of its exclusive economic zone, or the EEZ, in which more than 9 billion barrels of oil have been discovered. Guyana has since approached the International Court of Justice, or the ICJ, in 2018, seeking a final and binding agreement to reinforce that the 1899 arbitral award remains valid and binding on all parties, as well as legal affirmation that Guyana's Essequibo region, which contains much of the country's natural resources, belongs to Guyana and not Venezuela. That matter is engaging the World Court. However, Nicolas Maduro regime in the Spanish-speaking country renewed these claims when it issued a decree in January of 2021 claiming sovereignty and exclusive sovereign rights to the waters and seabed adjacent to Guyana's coast west of the Essequibo River, a move which has been staunchly rejected by local and overseas stakeholders, including Caricom. At this week's 42nd regular meeting of the Caricom heads of government, this position of the regional body is expected to be renewed. The meeting is being held on the heels of the 48th anniversary of the entry into force of the treaty establishing the Caribbean Community. This year also marks 20 years since the adoption of the revised Treaty of Chaguaramas, establishing the Caribbean Community, including the Caricom Single Market and Economy, or CSME. And according to the Guyanese head of state, in the decades that ensued since 1973, the community has grown in several ways. President Ali went on to outline that one of those achievements is being witnessed amidst the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic. He said that despite being the region worst affected economically by the pandemic, Caricom has fared better in managing its impact than many nations. Jafet Savory, The Evening News.
As Guyana celebrates Caricom Day, the country is simultaneously working to remove trade barriers that exist within the regional bloc. This is according to Finance Minister Dr. Ashni Singh. Andrew Carmichael has that story.
Senior Minister with responsibilities for finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, made the disclosure on Saturday in Blackbush Polder, Region 6. He alluded to the fact that many trade barriers exist within Caricom that frustrate the movement of goods from Guyana.
And once that is achieved, it means that there is a bigger market in the Caribbean for the products that you are producing, the crops that you are growing.
Caricom is an organization of 15 states and dependencies throughout the Caribbean, having primary objectives to promote economic integration and cooperation among its members, to ensure that the benefits of integration are equitably shared, and to coordinate foreign policy. It was established in 1973 and seeks to operate as a regional single market for many of its members. As such, the Caricom Single Market Economy was established. It is estimated that Caricom imports in excess of $5 billion in food annually, more than half of the 15 members importing more than 80% of the food they consume. According to Minister Singh, the government of Guyana also has a role to play not only in making it easier for trade within Caricom, but also finding markets for Guyanese producers.
And it's very important that we try to find these markets and secure these markets so that when you grow your produce and we are able to package that produce and export it, that we have ready markets that will pay you good prices. That is very important.
Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
With both Region 5 and Region 6 having agriculture as their main economic activity, the Agriculture Ministry is seeking to equip those communities with facilities to assist with the processing and packaging of fruits and vegetables. Our Berbice correspondent, Andrew Carmichael, joins us again to report that the facility will be set up in the Blackbush polder.
This, according to Agriculture Minister Zulfikar Mustafa, will be one step further in Guyana capturing a large part of the US $5 billion in food being imported annually by Caricom countries. The revelation was made on Saturday by both Mustafa and Senior Minister with responsibilities for finance, Dr. Ashley Singh, when they visited the Blackbush polder in Region 6, East Berbice Quarantine. Minister Singh noted that the government is committed to agriculture in the strongest possible way, noting that it has always been the main sector in Guyana's economy. However, he said, it is disgraceful that Guyana was removed as the leading spokesnation on agriculture during the coalition's term in government. Nevertheless, this has already been reversed and Guyana is once again setting the pace for food in the Caribbean region. On this note, he said, an agro-processing facility will be set up in the farming community of the Blackbush polder.
Value-added processing of primary produce like cash crops, etc., into nicely processed and packaged products for which you get better prices, etc. Now, what does this mean? It means that there's a bigger market for people who are growing these crops. It means that potentially they'll get better prices. It means that there's an incentive to cultivate and to plant and to harvest more. And it means that as a country, we'll be able not just to sell for the domestic market, but potentially these are export quality products. There's a very big diaspora market.
Meanwhile, Minister Singh said, in addition to taking the produce to the public market, they will have a market in the facility which is expected to become operational before the end of the year. Traditionally, many farmers in that community have just been selling their produce to retailers and not having the benefit of an open market. The finance minister further explained that the project is likely to transform the lives of farmers and boost the agricultural sector overall.
And so there's a big market for value-added agricultural production in the diaspora. And we want to be able to tap into that market as well. That's why, for example, you would have seen that the president just hosted a big conference with the diaspora. He spoke, the vice president spoke, several ministers participated. That conference with the diaspora was not just to engage with the diaspora, not just to talk about how important the diaspora is to us, but that conference was also with a view to promoting the diaspora market as a market for Guyanese products. Because Guyanese people living in New York, they go to the supermarket, they want, all of us, we miss the products that we're accustomed to and having at home. So processing plants like this will enable us to produce value-added products, which will ultimately be able to sell, be sold not just in the shelves in Guyana, but the export market as well.
Meanwhile, to complement the processing facility, Minister Mustafa explained that with funds allocated in the 2021 national budget, government has earmarked a packaging facility for Berbice.
We earmarked Allergy to be one of the packaging centers, but we are thinking about moving it further down the quarantine so we can service both regions. Because from Rosignol to Abari, you have a lot of cash crop farmers in that area too. And then on the east bank of Berbice, and coming back this way, you have a lot of farmers. So I'm looking at a place like Bath, Fort Wellington, or in New Amsterdam area this over. So I'm now looking for a proper, suitable location. But we will be having a packaging facility to service Region 5 and Region 6.
These plans, Minister Mustafa stated, are part of government's commitment to the development of the agricultural sector. Andrew Carmichael, The Evening News.
In a recent address to the diaspora, updating them of the People's Progressive Party government's accomplishments since taking office, President Dr. Irfan Ali has revealed that a number of investments will come on stream this year, including a US $20 million juice plant. Here are the details.
President Dr. Irfan Ali was at the time addressing members of the diaspora in a Queens, New York town hall meeting a few days ago. According to the president, there will be a number of investments from the private sector coming on stream this year. He cited the work that has already started in constructing hotels in Guyana, including the Courtyard by Marriott and Aden at Robb and Arnock Streets.
Additionally, 3 more international brands are earmarked to commence before the end of this year. More than 40 projects has been approved for manufacturing and fabrication, cement and asphalt plants, and we have large-scale plantation farm and agro-processing facilities that will commence their establishment in Guyana. We will see a new milk plant, the completion of a $20 million juice plant, corn and soya production.
The president noted that this is paired with Guyana's macroeconomic improvements, particularly in the traditional sectors. The government has also had success on a fiscal level.
I'm happy to report to you that our revenue target at the first half of this year has surpassed its projection by $11.3 billion as a result of the growth in these sectors. We have seen a 100% improvement in our balance of payment. 100% improvement of our balance of payment deficit. We have been able to stabilize our reserve holding. We have been able to stabilize our public debt to a sustainable level.
The US $20 million juice plant is likely a reference to Demerara Distillers Limited, DDL, which had invested that sum last year into a Tetra Pak and fruit processing plant last year. Gerald Bryan, The Evening News.
Coming up, Hess Mulls' US $1 billion investment in Stabroek block in 2022, and children hospitalized from COVID-19 had comorbidities, says Health Ministry. Do stay with us. You're watching The Evening News. Hess Corporation, which is a co-venturer alongside oil giant ExxonMobil in the Stabroek block, is considering increasing its investment in Guyana's waters to a staggering US $1 billion in 2022. More in this report.
This was revealed by Hess's Chief Financial Officer, CFO John Riley, who was participating in a virtual forum hosted by JP Morgan during its recent 2021 Energy, Power and Renewables conference. While the company is considering increasing next year's budget to US $1 billion, Riley cautioned that the ink is not dry. The CFO also explained that Hess remains focused on servicing its US $1 billion 3-year term loan arranged with JP Morgan Chase Bank. In fact, Riley explained that once the Liza Unity floating production, storage and offloading FPSO vessel comes on stream, this money will be used to complete servicing of this loan. He said, and I quote, "The Liza Unity is a 220,000 barrels of oil per day ship, and you get approximately 60,000 barrels of oil per day when it is up and running at peak. And when this is on an annual basis, you are getting 21.9 million barrels per day." The Stabroek block is 6.6 million acres. Exxon, through subsidiary Esso Exploration Production Guyana Limited, EEPGL, is the operator and holds 45% interest in the block. Hess Guyana Exploration Limited holds 30% interest, and CNOOC Petroleum Guyana Limited holds the remaining 25%. Exxon has said it anticipates at least 6 projects offshore Guyana that will be online by 2027, with developmental drilling recently starting on the second one, the Liza Phase 2 project. Back in May 2019, EEPGL was granted approval by the EPA to go ahead with its Liza Phase 2 development offshore Guyana. The oil company had said that the project will have the capacity to produce 220,000 barrels of oil per day. Exxon had also revealed that the Liza Phase 2 development cost some US $6 billion to fund, including a lease capitalization cost of approximately $1.6 billion for the Liza Unity. For Phase 2, 6 drill centers and approximately 30 wells, 15 production, 9 water injection, and 6 gas injection wells were planned. The US $9 billion Payara development, the third such development, will meanwhile target an estimated resource base of about 600 million oil equivalent barrels. It is considered the largest single investment in the history of Guyana. A fourth project, Yellowtail, has been identified within the block with anticipated startup in late 2025 pending government approvals and project sanctioning. Jarrell Bryan, The Evening News.
The Guyana Police Force has dismissed a statement by the Guyana Human Rights Association, which it said posited that the arrest and detention of 6 of the 9 women who claim to be alibi witnesses for murder-accused Gladstone Henry is shocking and smacks of malicious abuse of police powers. Here are the details.
Gladstone Henry and 3 other men have been charged and remanded to prison for the September 2020 murder of 17-year-old Harish Singh, which occurred at No. 3 Village, West Coast, Berbice. Last week, 10 of Henry's family members, including his mother, were at a press conference held by their lawyer Nigel Hughes, during which they claimed that the murder accused was at home at the time of Singh's murder. These alibi witnesses were subsequently arrested by the police for attempting to pervert the course of justice. The police contended that their alibis for Henry cannot be supported. The Guyana Human Rights Association has since condemned the arrest of the witnesses, calling it shocking and a malicious abuse of police powers. But in a subsequent statement in response to the human rights body, the police said that this is far from the truth. In doing so, the Guyana Police Force reiterated that the alibis provided by the alleged witnesses were investigated and found to be unverified. The statement outlines, "It follows therefore that if in the conduct of an investigation into a specific crime, another crime is suspected to have been committed by a person or persons, then the necessary action has to be lawfully taken." In fact, the police force reminded that it is the premier law enforcement agency in Guyana, with one of its statutory objectives being the detection and prevention of crime. Police disclosed that the alibi witnesses were subjected to a video interview, after which they were released on bail. The matter is still under investigation.
The Health Ministry has informed that all 4 children who were recently hospitalized after contracting the novel coronavirus had underlying comorbidities. Find out more in this report.
From March 2020 to this month, over 1,500 children up to 14 years of age contracted the novel coronavirus. In Guyana, among the total cases detected so far, this represents about 7%. Even though Guyana has recorded children testing positive for COVID-19 in the past, as did other countries in the world, the Health Ministry pointed out that the increase in hospitalization of children with COVID-19 is worrying. Recently, it was the first time the country had 4 COVID-19 hospitalized children, and each child had underlying comorbidities. A statement from the ministry explained that the COVID-19 virus is transmissible across all age groups. In children, the disease is usually mild and often asymptomatic. However, in rare cases, children can become seriously ill with the need for intensive care. According to the ministry, the percentage of infection among children in Guyana is not unlike what has been seen in other countries over time. Globally, in 2020, children accounted for 3 to 12% of COVID-19 detection rates. In 2021, the rates have jumped to 22% in most countries and is linked to new variants circulating. The ministry concluded that more aggressive cases in adults and now some children underline the caution which Health Minister Dr. Frank Anthony has been making within the past months. Rupa Sinarain, The Evening News.